Welcome to the Sports Show. I'm Andy Marks.
And I'm Byron Saucer.
We got a week of playoff football under our belts. We want to talk briefly about some of the games that happened last week, then we'll move on to this week's exciting tilts. Maybe we can start out with the Lake Weir Hurricanes. Went down to Tarpon Springs after kind of riding the coattails of maybe their greatest season ever, but it did not end on a high note for Lake Weir.
No, it was kind of a lopsided loss down there. We thought there was a chance that would happen, certainly not to that degree, not a 30-point loss like that. But you can't take anything away from those guys. They had a great season, and in fact, great back-to-back seasons. And, unfortunately, we didn't get to see Tracy Curry play in his final high school game.
Yeah, that is a shame. He threw for 200 and something yards. He has always accumulated stats. He was at the helm for two of the finest Lake Weir seasons that there have ever been, and you hate to see a great story end on a sour note, but there can only be one state champion, so everybody else loses at some point. I think it was a good job by that senior class and a great job by Coach Mark Hinnerthan getting that team competitive. The interesting thing now will be to see, after Tracy Curry, that kind of star player, the do-everything guy, after he's gone, are they going to sustain this now? And what do you think? What's the prediction?
I think so. I mean, I talked to Tracy earlier this season, and he went on and on about the young guys coming up in that program, and he really kind of considers himself more of a leader, emotionally than a stat guy. And, of course, he had to do a little of both this year. But I think they're okay. I think Mark Hinnerthan has a plan out there, and I think the kids are coming out. And I think that's been the biggest thing with Lake Weir, sustaining that momentum, having kids come out consistently and want to work and buy into a program that struggled traditionally.
Yeah, and pride, too. They have pride now. Those kids are proud, and then you can't ever sell that short. That's so important for winning football, is having kids just proud to wear the uniform, proud to be walking the halls in their colors, stuff like that. So hopefully it'll maintain. Another team whose season ended on a bitter note was the Dunellen Tigers. Pretty exciting game. I was actually over at Ned Love Field for that one. Dunellen was just outplayed. Vanguard has gotten better and better and better every week. They were the bigger team and the more athletic team, and they played well, and they won the game at the line. They came out with a heavy dose of Leo Burgess running behind a big sturdy Knight line, and they kind of shoved Dunellen down the field. They built that big lead, and when you're a wing T team like Dunellen is, and you have to rely on running plays to do the most of your damage on offense, it's hard to play comeback football in that environment.
Sure. Yeah, and that was one of the things we were kind of worried about going in about Dunellen. They're not real big defensively. Somehow or another, I don't know if it was smoke and mirrors or what it was, but I mean, they got it done all year. The second best defense, I think, in the county statistically going in. And, you and I were going back and forth with the text. I was over at Trinity, and that's what you were kind of saying, that Vanguard was kind of pushing them around. And when you can do that, it looked like Castaneda wanted to do that, establish a run with Burgess. Then after that, he turned Hitchcock loose.
Absolutely, and we did think that between those two teams, who were more known for their running backs than their passing game, the one that got it done through the air was going to win. That's exactly what happened. And I'll tell you what, Quentin Hitchcock, the junior quarterback over at Vanguard, he's turning into a player. And I think by this time next year, we're not going to be talking about him turning into anything. He's going to be there. This is a guy that is emerging as a real force through the air. And another force is Takeem Platt in the passing game. He can score from anywhere on the field. We haven't talked about him probably enough this year, but he had a huge game against Dunellen. I would venture to say his best game of the year, and he's had some good ones. And they have some other targets. Lamar Kiner had a touchdown reception. Yeah. They've got another big burly Brandon Farmer, and another big burly tight end type in Price Brannon, who keeps getting big catches. Hitchcock is spreading the ball around. It makes them dangerous because they can run and throw, and that's not what a whole lot of teams at the high school level can do. So Vanguard moves on to Stan Toole Memorial Stadium, where there will be a huge game this week against North Marion. North Marion, I think a little bit of a workmanlike win over Nature Coast. They were supposed to win. They did. Nature Coast, we know that's a very athletic program, and they gave them a little bit of a push.
And that's the thing with North Marion, they have become this business-like team. They've fallen behind, they've gotten leads and let other teams get into it. But the fact remains they have not lost a game since that Week 1 overtime loss against St. Augustine, where they probably were 3 touchdowns better. So this team knows what it takes. And you keep waiting for that perfect game when they go out and they click on it, all cylinders and really just dominate somebody. But they haven't needed it to this point. What do you think? Are they going to need it Friday against Vanguard?
Vanguard is on a roll, so I think North Marion's in a spot now where if they start slow, the same thing that happened to Denellen could happen to them. They could fall behind and play scramble catch-up type of football, and nobody wants to be in that position. But on the other side of that argument, I do think we might see that kind of wow factor North Marion game this week, because I know that these two teams have met before, North Marion and Vanguard, and it's a game that North Marion came out hanging their heads a little bit, came out after the game hanging their heads a little bit, and Vanguard came out after the game thinking they could go on and make the playoffs, which is exactly what they did. And that's because North Marion really beat them handily in the first half, built a huge lead, and then kind of stopped playing. And Vanguard was able to make some huge defensive plays. Leo Burgess had a fumble return for a touchdown. P.J. Williams, the returning force for the Knights, had a touchdown on a kickoff return. And all of a sudden it was a game, and Vanguard had the ball with a chance to win and 2 minutes left. They didn't make that happen. But I think what North Marion learned out of that particular matchup was that they cannot step off the gas. So if they find those opportunities for a 60, 70-yard Jamie Gilmore run, which is what happened against Vanguard a couple times, they're not going to come out after halftime and think to themselves, we've got these guys handled, because they learned that lesson. So I think this week we may see a serious, for 4 quarters, North Marion effort. And if, in fact, we get that, I don't know that Vanguard's going to be able to hang around this time. What do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. I mean, you look at Vanguard, and it looks like every week Castaneda opens that playbook up a little more. As you say, Hitchcock is certainly emerging, and Leo Burgess and that offensive line's getting it done. But I will say, on paper, on the field, 2 best games, North Marion wins this one by a couple of touchdowns. I think that's what will happen. I think that front with Cortland Thomas and Latavian Sweet will blow up plays before they can get started, and I think that's the key with Burgess. You know what I mean? If you can get him before he gets through that little crease there and builds up some momentum, a little easier to bring down. So I like North Marion in this game. I think the offense has too much for still a suspect Vanguard defense. I'm not a true believer, I don't think, in the Vanguard defense, and I just think that sophomore trio of Gilmore, Price, and Pittman, along with Chucky Looney back there, a 3-year start at quarterback's too much. I like the Colts by 10.
Yeah, I'm on board with that Vanguard feel-good story as much as anybody, but they are facing a class outfit this week. I agree with you that and Burgess, who's an absolutely sturdy runner, he can play physical football. He can also break free and get the big gain on you. If he's blocked for in a really effective way, that'll change the game for Vanguard, because they can pass. And Sweet, the rush end, who's been terrorizing opposite quarterbacks all year long, was really neutralized in that first game when these two teams met over at Booster Stadium. However, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to take the Colts by a 2-touchdown margin. I think it's going to boil down to the big play. Vanguard has been susceptible to it, even in their really strong effort against Denellen. Bubba Black got off for a couple of really, really long touchdown runs. They can't give North Marion an easy touchdown, or that. I think that'll be the ball game right there. Yeah. So the one game from last Friday that we did not talk about was the one you attended. That was over at Trinity Catholic High School. West Nassau came in and gave the Celtics, I think, a little bit of a preview of the quality of football they're going to see this week.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the same looks they'll see from Bolles. They get in that double wing, they pound you, big offensive line, physical running backs, and they did. They had their 2 scoring drives were 19 and 18 plays, probably ate up 15 minutes total, and it can be very difficult to get that team off. It's like Bellevue a few years ago when they were going good with that double wing. They get the ball, they play keep away, they score touchdowns. But, the Trinity defense, which is always the question mark going in with these guys, we know what they can do on offense. But the defense really answered the bell, I thought. Only giving up 2 touchdown drives. They got off the field, got their offense the ball. And, once you get Trinity the ball, they handle their business. Terry Murphy, who played more than he's played all year because Kedrick Rhodes was serving out a first-half suspension. So he busted out for 170-plus and 2 touchdowns. Gray Crow and Kadron Boone look good now. And this David Thomas kid in the slot, and they'll split him out wide as well. He could be the X factor there with Boone getting all the attention. He also had a nice night.
Okay, so West Nassau, as good as they were, they're not Jacksonville Bulls. And Trinity, in their past years on their march to the state championship game, has never seen an opponent anything like this early in the draw. Right. Bulls is a class program. They win state championships. It has not yet been at the 2B level, but here they are. I think it's an appropriate matchup for Trinity because the 2 schools similarly get the best kids from their areas to come play football for them. I like to see Trinity in this environment. The question is, Who's better?
Yeah, who is better? And I don't know. Bolles at full strength is probably better, but they're not at full strength. They've lost a couple of offensive linemen, one being the Brent Benedict kid who had already committed to Georgia, who is thought to be the best tackle in the state and maybe the country. He's out with an ACL, so that'll help a little bit as far as Trinity's concerned, the defense up front. But, this Bolles team beat West Nassau 21-12, so and I know it's tricky comparing scores, but I think Trinity can play with this bunch. The key again will be, can the defense get off the field? If you let Bolles get over there and just eat clock and run it down your throat, you're in trouble. But on the other side, I think when Trinity gets the ball, they're going to be a lot for Bolles to try to handle.
Sure.
Cadron Boone is going to require 2, maybe 3 guys on him. He is playing at a different level right now. I tell you, all he has to do is get the ball in his hands, and it takes 2-3 guys to bring him down. And Kedrick Rhodes, I believe, will be back and motivated to show what he has up there. Terry Murphy, who is now in mid-season form, he's ready to go. An underrated offensive line. I think these guys can score some points, and it may be a little homerish, but I'm going to take the Celtics in this one, 34-30.
I also think, last year it was right about this time when we started. You're going to have to help me with his name. We started to hear from the big tight end over there at Trinity.
Yeah.
They started using him in the playoffs,
right.
And he is a big athletic pass catcher. And I'm expecting to see him in the end zone before this season comes to an end for the Celtics.
Right, he has been. You're right, and that's the secret weapon, isn't he? He had that great catch against Pahokee last year in the state title game, and we should mention that too, by the way. Pahokee. 35-0 loser to Chaminade Madonna last week, which is what the state wanted to do, what the FHSAA wanted to do with 2B. Get some new players in there. Bolles up here for Trinity, Pahokee and Chaminade down there took care of business. Will Trinity be the next one to fall?
Yeah, who knows? And now that Pahokee's out of the draw, we don't know anything about Chaminade. We know that Tampa Catholic is a good team.
Right.
You could make the argument that we're witnessing a state championship game this weekend. It could be that these are the best 2 teams in Class 2B. I like your pick of Trinity. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Gray Crow. If I'm Bolles, I'm gonna look at that Trinity offense and try and figure out who I can focus on, who I can try and scramble their mind a little bit. And it's going to be Gray Crow. He's a sophomore. He's a little bit untested. When Trinity wasn't clicking on offense earlier this year, it was because their passing game wasn't in full form yet. They have certainly made huge gains there. Crow is leading our county in just about every meaningful offensive category. So I certainly don't mean this as a knock on him.
Yeah.
But Trinity Bolles is elite level football, and he's young. So I think that's going to be a key, is how effectively they pass. Bolles, am I right? They're the defending 2A state champion, or did they lose in the championship?
No, they won emphatically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a state championship caliber opponent. I'm sitting at a 2-game deficit to you in this game. I'm going to go the other way and take Bolles, and frankly, it's not a bad pick because Bolles is just a superb program.
Oh, yeah.
It's an exciting game, and anybody who's on the fence about whether they want to make that Friday night drive, make the drive, because you don't get these kind of matchups often. It would be just a banner win for the Celtics if they could pull it off up there. And
great atmosphere up
there. Absolutely. It's exciting, and that reminds me of one more question. AstroTurf, or if it's not AstroTurf, I don't know what you call it anymore.
It's an artificial surface.
Right.
We know that. And that's one other little thing you got to deal with there as you prepare to go play Bolles. They do play on an artificial surface, and it's rare to see these high school rugs around anymore. So Brantley did take his bunch up to Gainesville Monday to practice on their artificial facility up there. So just to kind of get a taste, I think, for the skill guys, planting and cutting and see what that'll be like. But should be a fantastic game.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Bolles. I'm going to pick a very high-scoring game, 42-38. If Trinity can lock down when it matters against the run, like it sounds like they did in the second half against West Nassau, if it's a lower score than that, at least from Bolles' side, I like Trinity, because I don't think you can hold Trinity to under 20 points at this point. I'd be really surprised to see that happen. So those of you that aren't able to make these drives, especially that drive to Jacksonville, don't forget to tune in to Ocala.com on Friday night. We'll have a steady stream of updates from that game on the website as the game goes on, and we will be back next week post-holiday to talk about how all this went. And everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.